human rights violations, extreme poverty, lack of education. These were day-to-day challenges that desperately needed change. In what's known as the Arab Spring, millions of Middle Eastern civilians rallied together on the top social network sites to try to overthrow their regimes. Some sites were used as a way to communicate and as a news source, while others were used as a cog to connect key activists under uniting rallies. What I think we forget, though, is that we in the West got an inside look of what was really going on in the Middle East, live and on the battleground. In 2011, the Arab Spring captured social media's ability to essentially start a movement for the very first time. By the end of 2012, many governments were overthrown. And while the social and economic impacts are yet to be determined, we saw the pure power and potential of these websites firsthand. Planet Earth is now connected beyond our wildest dreams. Any of you can record what I'm doing, and within seconds, upload it online, then tag our location, my profile, and even the person sitting 3 rows ahead of you. Just look at what we have today: smartphones, tablets, and computers. These have shaped the way we communicate so much that the way we're speaking and acting towards one another is changing. With online social media, communicating is on a much bigger stage, where every recorded thought is seen by many networks: your friends, your family, their friends, even job recruiters. So what you say holds a lot of power in how others see you. Yet when we feel immediately gratified from the likes, the retweets, the notifications, and we use these to pivot our online image, things get a little more complicated. Many of us worry about how we present ourselves on social media, and so what we say isn't always what we think. It's what we want others to think about ourselves. But is that genuine? Is it a good thing to be able to change or undo what we say? These are huge implications for living in this zeitgeist, this time of intense change. And it's time we start digging deeper, because of the academia that has come before me and the research I've collected. It is fair to question the possibility of empowering the world through social media. How great it could be if we can live in a world full of tolerance and equality because of these websites. I wanted to know if the language and attitudes we display on social media contribute to new roles we have in society. So look specifically at sexism and gender. For 2 weeks, I observed posts from a variety of users on a wide variety of sites. It was then I asked them their views of gender roles today and how they feel that they are carried out on social media. I wanted to know if these sites could change the way we think, or if these sites could be an indicator of social change. But before I reveal anything, there are 2 crucial concepts for understanding the similarities between online and physical communities. In a more global community like the web, it's the trend to sound accepting and intelligent. Users ranging from autonomous youth to confused grandparents somehow all come to an agreement of what can and cannot be said. These become principles and ideals that eventually becomes a set that anybody joining the community has to follow. Something that Emil Durkheim called the collective consciousness, or the mass mind. Simple rules we follow, like adding only people we know, being mindful of who's reading our posts, and keeping private conversations private. And if we do say anything that attacks someone or a belief, we're given the opportunity to remove what was said at any moment, thus making these more appealing for everyone. Although, if you do say something against the collective consciousness, you're already on a quicker path to fame. Come on. It's obvious that Dr. Phil wouldn't ask this about a guy. So we as a society feel that this is wrong, because it's targeted. And is asking rhetorical questions to the public bad? Well, I rest my case. On top of this global community, we make sure that we're careful about what our pages look like, and we make sure that we don't have anything on there that would harm us or hurt somebody else. Because we know we're being viewed by a different audience, we manage our accounts accordingly. This is impression management. And while it was first thought that we managed our online impression for ourselves to boost our self-esteem, I found that it is this overbearing collective consciousness that actually controls the way we interact online, which is great because we are a little more censored, maybe even a little nicer on social media. Your language, your words, you directly impact the values and attitudes of many people in your network. So next time you post, think about how the specific word choice you use is going to persuade others. And here's what I mean. We discover our roles through interaction. Gender is identified primarily in childhood in same-sex groups. Girls doing gymnastics, boys playing football. But see, what I think of gender roles and how much they matter is different from what any of you do, because you and I haven't had the same interaction growing up and throughout our entire lives. How we socialize, offline and online, has a dramatic effect of the way we see values and how people should fit into roles in society. So in 2004, 2 Bowling Green professors determined that men use considerably more gender-marked and sexist language than women, part of the reason for the gender gap. As Benjamin Morf said, over half a century ago, language and culture have a reciprocal relationship. So if we avoid using particular language and particular attitudes that we decide that we don't want to display, we will be less conditioned to own and thus spread those values. It's like what Robert Zine said, that we become happier simply by faking a smile. And that translates to, we can change how others think simply by being more mindful and careful about what we say and what we post. Now, here's the graph of the data I collected. It shows posts that were, by definition, gaining an advantage over another gender or having major gender bias. Unlike the study from just a decade ago, which showed that women aren't really, which came out when mainstream online social media began, it appears that females are now in the lead for expressing their role. In our communication lies how power is balanced within us all. And in this case, gender ideals could be changing right in front of our very eyes. Multiple study subjects admitted that while they feel comfortable reading offensive posts, they would also be against it, regardless of their views, thanks to this collective consciousness. The point is that the same sexist joke you make to your friend sitting next to you is not the one you put online, because everybody online will see it, and just like that, make a subtle, sometimes completely silent judgment about who you are, and that can't be undone. My favorite quote from the survey responses came from the eldest, perhaps the wisest of my subjects, who said that, as one becomes aware of others' perspectives, out of respect and empathy, comments and responses to posts are done accordingly. Is there a more fitting definition for impression management? Well, we like to think we go on these sites to read about the world around us. What we don't realize is that many of our interpersonal needs, like trust and support, are satisfied through these media. And what we don't realize is that we are affecting and changing the way these needs are seen in the outside physical world by working together to build a harmonious online community. I intended to discover whether or not gender and attitudes could change as a result of the way we use social media, such as Facebook and Twitter. But what I ultimately discovered is that the group mindset plays a much more dramatic role in determining what we say. And what we say becomes how we feel, which reinforces how we think, and then affects what we say in the future. As a student looking to fill my head at this enormous campus at the University of Central Florida, I was lucky to have great insight to this new field of science. But what does this mean for the future? I believe there's good and bad to social change. Arab Spring isn't an accident, but neither is online bullying and online harassment. With caution, we can build off of our discoveries and learn from our successes and our mistakes. It's no surprise that if we want the world to change, we are responsible for the change, because it is our voices, or should I say, the quiet taps of the desktop keyboard that are doing just that. You, all of us as catalysts, need to facilitate the protection of this global community to ensure that it has fair use for everyone. What we say will matter, and it will change what our friends and their friends and their friends think. Thank you.